Hi, I am Representative Muffy Davis with the Idaho State Legislature, here for the legislative update for the week of January 27th to the 31st, our fourth week in session here at the Idaho State Capitol. It was a hard week for Idaho's youth and children. House Bill 340 was heard in the Health and Welfare Committee and actually was passed out of that to the amending orders of the House floor. What that bill will do, and I feel is a very scary situation, will allow juvenile drug and alcohol treatment centers to not have to be licensed. That is very scary, as the juvenile people that need drug and alcohol treatment are probably some of our most vulnerable populations, and we had immense amount of testimony in opposition to this from medical professionals, from parents who have had children that have gone through these treatment centers, and yet the Health and Welfare Committee still thought it was fit to send this to the floor of the House with, so it's going to the amending orders, which what they were looking for was hopefully there would be some provisions set in there to make it so that the adults in treatment centers and juveniles have to be segregated and separate and cannot be in the same facilities, because that is part of licensing, and that would be stated if a facility was licensed. Those would be mandated and stated in there. We will see what happens with that. I'm really worried. Hopefully this bill does not get out of the House. If it does, hopefully the Senate will be able to stop it, because our children and our youth that are the most vulnerable, that need these intensive and special rehabilitation and treatment facilities, need the best protection they can. And that is the only way we can assure that and govern that, is through actual licensure. So we will see what happens, but hopefully we will be able to stop that. Another hard day for Idaho's youth was the defeat of House Bill 312. That was essentially a bill that was to increase protections of licensed daycare providers here in the state of Idaho. It was also pretty much a federal conformity bill, requirements that we needed to increase some of our training and hours that were required for licensed facilities of training for, and increase the number of licensed professionals that are watching our children ratio-wise. It had not been updated since 2011, and this was just a simple bill brought to us by the Department of Health and Welfare. But my colleagues, many of my colleagues on the House floor, decided that we did not need to increase our protections for those, or our children and those that are in daycare centers. As well, this was an important bill because we needed to pass it in order to receive about 900,000 federal dollars that go towards helping some of our state daycare facilities that assistance, financial assistance for different providers. So that did not pass the House. So hopefully we will see another bill that will enable us to still do the federal conformity and access those federal dollars. We will see later, but it was a tough week for Idaho's children. A positive note, we did pass a wonderful bill, I believe a great bill, in the House Health and Welfare Committee. It is going to the House floor, which is to increase telehealth here in Idaho and increase healthcare access for all Idahoans. And since we are a rural state and many of our Idaho citizens live in places that may not be able to get into a medical, actually see a medical doctor, this will help enable them to be able to have access to quality healthcare. So we will follow that. That is House Bill 342 if you want to look more about that. And there were a couple of scares this week on property tax bills. We reached out to all of our elected officials in all of our cities and counties in our district. These were some bills, House Bill 353 and 354, which were attempting to limit the property tax increases, which we all know is happening, and we all know there needs to be some resolution because it's getting a little too crazy and people are not able to afford these immense increases in property tax. But these were not the right answer. These bills would have severely limited our rural, small towns, communities, and counties in being able to get the necessary resources that they get, since we at the legislature have not enabled them to collect or levy or collect bills any other way to increase their funds. we've really tied their hands. So thankfully, these bills were pulled back to committee, and I think they're going to work on some other solutions to work on property tax. So that scare hopefully is on the table for a little while, but I'm sure we will see some more interesting legislation. It is always, well, it is never boring here down at the state capitol, but hopefully we will get some more positive bills next week, and we will see some better things happening for Idaho constituents. The daylight savings time bill, which I mentioned to you last week, we will be hearing. And I know many of you are frustrated with having to change your clocks back and forth, but what I had feared about that daylight savings time bill is in fact correct. It does not adjust for the fact that Idaho has 2 time zones. And if we were to enact this, we would be with our neighboring states up to 2 hours different certain times of the year. So this bill is not the right daylight savings time bill. Maybe there will be another one that we can keep working. And I know Representative Toon has been looking into this intricately over the break and looking at ways that we can get a better bill that will provide the necessary needs so that we don't have to switch back and forth. Perhaps that includes staying on daylight savings time year round. But right now, this current bill that we have in front of us is not the right bill because it will open too many challenges and obstacles that we would then have to go deal with as well. So I probably will not be supporting that bill next week. But as always, it's a pleasure to serve you here in the Idaho State Capitol. It's really an honor, and please keep in touch, reach out if there are issues or concerns that you have. It's my job here to listen to your voice and bring it here to our state capitol. So I take that seriously and look forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you.